taking control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains that act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching have taken over. We the people, our little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are, reveal your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We've watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Let us play with all our toys. They let us think that we're big boys. They let us make the louder noise, but women rule the world. They let us think we're Superman, that we're the only ones who can be strong, but we break on command, cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Thanks for listening in at spacedoutradio.com, on Spreaker, and on Revolution Radio. As we welcome you into tonight's show as we broadcast live out of Uncle Jimbo's cabin right here in the Great White North. Live on this Friday night, early Saturday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we broadcast every night of the week as we want to be your official one-stop shop for the supernatural, paranormal, conspiratorial, supernatural, once again, and so much more. If you like our music, that's because the guitar god Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, is the man behind our tunes. Bumblefoot, the official music of Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Find us on TuneIn. Download our shows from iTunes, and of course our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time we say hello to everyone listening in on the Revolution Radio chat room on the High Plains Talk Radio Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans on Facebook at Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship chat room, the SOR Space Travelers. If you haven't signed up for the SOR Space Travelers yet, you're missing out, because tonight we're going to do another monthly prize draw. It's only $5 a month, and your name gets entered into the monthly prize draw. You now have to wait until next year, or next month, pardon me. Access to private group interviews, access to a special section on our website, and so much more. Hey, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. While on our website, you can check out our latest blogs, our music from Bumblefoot, and the SOR Spacewire for your latest and weird news by our news director, Eric Markham. We also have another feature on our site we'd like you to check out. The SOR Sightlines Report is up and running. If you've had an experience and want it investigated by our researcher, Mike Schmidt, just go out for a Sightlines Report, fill it out. All of your personal information is 100% confidential. Remember, if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, it is the largest non-profit online radio station going. Do us a favor, take a time, go to freedomslips.com and donate today. The final Friday of October, already. Can you really believe it? And if you've listened to this show for a while now, you'll remember that the final Friday of the month means it's time to bring in the Roundtable for an exciting and fun night of talking everything under the paranormal umbrella. The SOR Roundtable was created to help give me a night off, so to speak, as we push pretty damn hard each and every month to try and bring you, our valued listeners, the best quality programming we can on a 7-night-a-week basis. And even though we'll never admit to it publicly, James Tyson will know this, sometimes we get tired, really tired. So the Roundtable is a way for me, James, and other people to kind of kick back, relax, and have some fun discussing the month that was in the world of paranormal. Tonight we are joined by James Tyson from Spaced Out Radio, along with the ever-beautiful Elizabeth Anglin. We have Rich Giordano from The Rich Giordano Show, Amber Avalona from Spaced Out Radio's newest website feature coming soon, the Ask Amber column, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the gout-suffering Joseph Francis Aquilino from the WIRN network. The guests have stepped in. They don't know the topics or the questions. They have to think fast, otherwise they end up like Joey, being a Mets fan and watching the Cubs in the World Series. We bring in the panel now. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much. We got a packed house here tonight. Good to have you along for the ride. Thank you very much for sharing your Friday night with me.
Happy to be here,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Rich, Rich, it's been a while since we've had you on. I'm excited that you are joining us again tonight because it seems like forever since we've had you on the air. Love having you back, my friend.
Thank you. And thank you. I'm surprised you didn't say I was beautiful.
Well, you're beautiful in a different sort of way. And,
Okay.
you know, it's more romantic, man crush type thing.
Thank you.
But it's all good. And, of course, we have Amber. Amber, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
You know what? I just noticed I have a spider right here on my broadcasting desk that is probably about half an inch big.
Wow,
Listening in.
that's interesting.
Well, you know-
for Halloween.
We're going to name him Norm. So, Norm, you know what? I'm going to take a picture of Norm. Hey, Norm, don't leave. Don't leave. He's going over the edge. Norm? Oh, there he goes. What the hell, Norm? I thought we were friends. Dirty bastard.
Give me back next Halloween.
Well, I hope so. Hold on. I got to lean over here. I'm going to pick up my microphone. Norm, where are you? Norm, seriously. Oh, he's dangling down. Hold on. I'm going to put my microphone down there. Norm, are you going to say anything?
Go get him, Dave. Go get him.
Journalism at its finest. Journalism at its finest right there, people. Trying to get a live interview with Norm the Spider, who is invading my desk. Breaking news here on Spaced Out Radio. How we all doing?
All right.
Eric, how's your beard since the Paracon?
It's still growing. It'll be hitting the foot. Like I said, it's going to be a ZZ Top beard by next Paracon.
Nice. I'm liking that. All right, let's get right into it, everyone, because the Paranormal Round Table is about discussing the month that was in the field of the paranormal, using it as the blanket word that Cooper loves to have it with. And Monday is Halloween. Amber, we're going to start with you on this one, because I can just do that. I have control.
You do.
One of those things that I think is an interesting topic going into this Halloween, as I thought about topics for this show, is this whole clown crap that is going on. And it seems to be getting violent, but the vigilantes out there are pretty much saying, we've had enough, and we're going to beat the living hell out of you now. So, with Halloween here, if you had children and you were taking them trick-or-treating, or let's say even you and the ladies go out for a drink on Halloween night, you get dressed up, do you think that Halloween is going to be clown central, where these idiots are going to get dressed up to try and have one final scare before the police kind of crack down on all this crap that's going on?
I can definitely see some people doing that. I mean, it's you always have, like you said, the crazies that are out there, and it seems to be something that is, at this point, a worldwide phenomenon, which is rather creepy. But yeah, I mean, they got to be really careful, because, like you said, you may have some woman out there like me and my ladies who beat the crap out of them. So,
Taser.
Yeah, right, taser. Yeah, taser, mace, something like that. You gotta, because you don't know, especially being out at night, and if it's dark, you don't know if someone is just playing a prank or if they have more serious intentions and they're willing to hide that behind a mask. People do that all the time. So it would definitely be a stupid thing to do, but I'm not surprised if somebody does it.
Elizabeth, as a woman, what's your take on that? Do you concur with Amber? Do you think it might be a little bit freakish out there this year with all this clown phenomena going on?
Well, I live in a town where everybody's packing Bowie knives and swords and guns, and they're just a bunch of anarchists. So if anybody's dressed up as a clown who's not a local and does anything stupid, he's pretty much going to come out of the situation with holes all the way through his everywhere. So I'm not worried about my safety here in Madrid, New Mexico. But when I would live in Boston, I would tell you that if I saw clowns out on the street in Boston, I would hang back and I would do all of the things that my dad, who was a karate teacher, taught me to do about, don't let the person get behind you. You stay behind them. You have your keys in your hand. If you need to run. If you need to go someplace that's populated and, sound an alarm, do that. Because I would hang back if I saw somebody and not let them get behind me and stay really, really vigilant in a larger town. But in this town, I'm not worried. It would be very silly to come to Madrid, New Mexico and try to dress up in a clown suit and do anything silly. It just wouldn't work.
Rich Giordano, have they, in your area of Arizona, had the clown problem down there? And if so, do you see them getting out of hand on Halloween?
No, actually, we've had no reports out here in Phoenix. Actually, I'm surprised because it's so wide open and there's so many crackheads out here. It's crazy. Especially, if you see one of those clowns that are taller than 4 feet tall, I'd be worried. That's the only thing that would scare me if they were more than 4 feet tall. It's not a kid. But in Arizona, nothing's going on. And as a guy, if I had kids and I was out there, I'd definitely be on alert. But in Arizona, no.
You've got the crazy sheriff.
Yeah, I know.
So I think people are scared to be clowns because they'd be dealing with the crazy sheriff, maybe.
Oh man, I'd be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me if the sheriff wasn't dressing up as a clown. He's that crazy. Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Yeah.
That would be really scary, clown sheriffs. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Joey Giggles, I know you still go trick-or-treating because you love the free candy.
Yes, I still go trick-or-treating, Dave, and unfortunately they took all the clown masks and clown costumes off the shelves here in Staten Island, New York. Like I said, we're very boring people here in Staten Island, New York. We only have that one tree, Dave, and I was out there chopping it down the other day,
Oh, my God. The one bird on Staten Island is pissed at you right now. Pissed at you. The seagulls don't care, but, that one sparrow, where the hell is he going to go now? Cooper, I was in your town last weekend. I don't see any clowns running around, but a lot of rednecks who could be dangerous with a couple of Budweisers in them.
Yeah, I heard when it first broke out like 2 months ago, I heard one report because I run a Facebook community group as well. So I only heard one report, and that was in Birdsview, which is before concrete. And a girl said someone had knocked on her window at like 2 a.m, and she looked out the window, and no clown, but there was a balloon. I don't know which is creepier, the fact that we have clowns running around and then there's a balloon floating in front of her window, or, the clown itself. But you've seen where I live. If I see a clown up in my yard, they're getting shot. They don't belong on my road, period.
That wouldn't surprise me. I'm not going to lie. And Cooper's the only guy I know right now who literally has a guard sheep on his driveway. I have seen it. I walked into it. It startled me twice.
You and Christina George both.
And he's got a guard duck. A guard duck
Yep,
and a guard
quack.
sheep. Jesus.
That's quack.
James Tyson, I want to bring you in as our resident law enforcement with a very, very masculine beard these days, and I appreciate that. Do you think this clown epidemic has a possibility to ruin Halloween night for a lot of people? And if so, what would be the protocol going into something like this with the police, whether they're in Canada or the U.S.? Would they be on alert for something like this, or would they just be doing their regular patrols?
First of all, the whole scary clown thing it's just a social media thing. It's like these things have been going on in England years and years ago. There was a guy, and I can't remember what the name of the town it was, but they named him after the town. It was the scary clown of so-and-so. And all he did was at around 2 a.m, he just walked down the street. And if he bumped into somebody, he'd say, hello, and keep walking. And that was the scary clown of whatever. But, these things have gone back in novels and old poetry back to Edgar Allan Poe. And it's not a big deal. It's like I say, it's really been pushed by social media, which then the knee-jerk reaction is, my God, we've got to take masks of clowns off the shelves because those are the only things that could possibly scare somebody. Really? Here, dress up like a Talibanian and walk down the street. I think up here in the Great White North, where it's just basically a large chunk of ice once you hit north of the 49th parallel, Halloween is different. We have fireworks, and it's like a poor man's 4th of July. But I don't think this is a big deal, and I would doubt that anybody in a briefing would sit down and say, "Okay, we've got to be aware of scary clowns tonight." Well, no, you don't. But mind you, in the United States, they would just shoot them because that's what police do down there. I've read that in a book.
Yep.
But honestly, I don't think it's a big deal. You've got unless the insane clown posse from the 80s pops up again and starts rapping down the street dressed as clowns. I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal, but it's sure taken our mind off. And I saw a meme the other day where it's got the scary clown from the Stephen King's It. And it said, since we've come along, you haven't seen anybody looking for Pokemon. And it's like, thank you very much. Or no, you're welcome. It's, it's just one of those. And if you want to get into conspiracies, Dave, let's knock the election off the front page and put scary clowns on it.
Let's do that. Our voice of reason, James Tyson. He's seen more trees than Joey has in his life, but that's okay.
That's true, actually.
Hey, I want to get into this topic because an end of an era happened in the United States and on Canadian television, in the U.S. on Sci-Fi, and up here on whatever cable channel it's on, because I don't have cable, so I kind of forget that channel. But the last Ghost Hunters television show ended. It's an end of an era because they were filming for 12 different seasons, and they really brought ghost hunting, along with A&E's Paranormal State, to the forefront back in the early 2000s, where everybody all of a sudden became a ghost hunter because of those shows. I'm going to start with you on this one, Rich. Do you think this is the start of paranormal television coming to an end?
No, not even close. I mean, there's new shows out there all the time. They have the Ghost Brothers that just came up a few years ago, I mean, you still have Ghost Adventures out there. You have some other shows that are spiking up. I can't remember their names. Absolutely not. They brought a lot of validity to ghost hunting for a lot of people who didn't know anything about it. And also it got me real interested in ghost hunting too. It actually helped propel me into the field. And I think it's still going strong. There's just that mystery of what is. I just watched Ghost Adventures tonight, the Zach Bagans crew. And I still, even though he's a little out there, but I like it. I like the mystery of why are they catching these stick figures on all this new equipment they come up with and the new ways of ghost hunting. I don't know. I find it fascinating even after all these years. I'm just not bored with it. So as long as it's edited right and made right and it's not too hokey and you don't hear of any fakery going on, which that'll never end, I think you're going to see a lot more shows come up to try to replace ghost hunters. What a great show that was.
I thought it was really good. The one thing that always disappointed me about it was the fact that here they were going into haunted locations that were known to be haunted, and they were proving that it was haunted.
Well, not only in the beginning, I watched the replay of the first season. They were trying to help families in the beginning, and they were just going to people's homes and trying to figure out if the house was haunted. And it was a slow start for them because they weren't catching anything. And at the end of every episode, they'd come up and say, we didn't catch anything, so we'll see you next week. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like rush to nothing, It was, but it turned out to be good. It was a good show.
Cooper, I'm going to get your take on this because, like Rich says, he thinks it's just heading in different avenues. Do you think this is the beginning of the end, or do you think that this is just a changing of the guard?
I think it's a changing in the guard in that I think they might get away from ghost hunting, per se, and go into more paranormal aspects. I know MUFON's got a new show coming out soon. I found out last night X-Files is coming back. They are getting away from UFOs, and they're going in a more paranormal direction. So if you want to talk general TV, yeah, X-Files is going in the paranormal direction, so the UFOs now as well. But as far as paranormal documentary and paranormal, like the Ghost Hunter shows, I think you're going to see more they're going to look for something that's going to be dramatic and it's going to catch ratings. So they're going to go into the more extreme, maybe. That's kind of where I see it heading.
Goatman, your thoughts on this?
I used to love that show, actually. I just think sometimes things fizzle out. And that show's been around for 12 years. They couldn't come up with, I guess, any more, unique, different episodes. So I would have to say that it just fizzled out. But I really enjoyed that show during its heyday. Yep.
Amber, is it the beginning or the end?
Oh, I think it's actually just a transition. I think that we will definitely see more paranormal-related shows, as was mentioned just a little while ago. But it's going to, like they said, move away from just focusing on ghosts, and it's going to open up an entire new world of how we see the paranormal and what we interact with in the paranormal field. So I'm excited. I mean, I'd love to see more mediums, more paranormal healers like myself, more technology, and so yeah, let's go for it. Let's raise the bar.
Uncle Jimbo, do you think it's a changing of the guard?
I do, and just between the group of us here, it's kind of huddle, get closer. No, get a little bit closer. What's happening in my show tonight? That's my knee. What's happening? For example, Joanna, the medium on my show, who's on Two Mediums and a Large, she has been getting approached, we'll put it that way, by ETs and has been tuning into cryptids over the last year. And I've been talking to a few other mediums who started off just talking to Uncle Bob when he comes through or a spirit guide, and they're now getting these multidimensionals and things like that. And I'm wondering if that's not the next step. We are now, let's say the masses are through paranormal television and shows like this and shows about mediums, they're getting a little better idea and comfortable with the idea of something else after we die. We'll call it life after death. We'll call it death after death, or another energy carries on after you die. And now I believe the next wave that somebody wants us to know and get comfortable with, like we've got comfortable with the spirit world, is that whoever's in control of there wants us start to know a little bit more about extraterrestrials and cryptids. So that's where we're going on our show tomorrow night. We've got Joanna coming in, just communicating with ETs and telling us about cryptids and different ETs and connecting to her guide. So over the last few years, let's say 5-6 years, the masses are getting comfortable with the spirit world. And I think we're at the beginning of the next phase for something that's coming down the pipe that's going to be a little more out there. And I don't think we're going to be, I think we're being prepped not to poop ourselves when this thing happens.
Elizabeth, what do you think of what James is saying?
Oh, I agree, but I have more specific ideas about, you know how they say everything old becomes new again? I think what we really need to see is a melding of the really good oldies, like the great race can become the great ghost race, and you send out paranormal teams all over the world, and they win by validating what's been found in a haunted area. My ghost swap instead of wife swap, ghost swap your ghosts out, and my big fat Bigfoot wedding. Bigfoot families can, who
listen
are getting
to your
married,
creativity.
they can go to each other's houses and have their, trade houses with their Bigfoot, other Bigfoot anyway. Because what it is it's lacking. These shows that we've seen forever, we already know what the deal is. We know what the format is. So I agree that there needs to be either a retooled and integrated or new format, because everybody's seen Ghost Hunters a gazillion times. And how many times can you get scared like that?
Very understandable. We're going to move on here, as we're already half an hour into this thing. Wow. I want to get into psychic readings for a minute here, because there are some extremely talented, gifted men and women out there who have communication as a spirit guide or with their spirit guides or their mediums, or they're just plain old really good psychics. And then there are some doozies out there. But here's something that I have noticed, and I'm going to use a personal example here. Often I have about 5 or 6 people who I go to for readings, and what I do is I play one off of the other. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, I don't know. But I never give specifics. Elizabeth, who is an extremely good psychic, she and I have worked together. She knows that when I ask a question, I usually am pretty vague on the question, and I wait for the answer. And then a few weeks later, I'll go to a different medium psychic and see if that is confirmed. But the issue that I have with a lot of psychic mediums out there, and James, we're going to start with you on this one because you're the host of Two Mediums on a Large, which is one of our most popular episodes on the Spaced Out Radio Show and Spaced Out Weekend. I have noticed, at least for me and quite a few other people, a lot of psychics have an easy ability to be able to tell you when the bad times are coming. They can predict the shit out of bad times. But when it comes to the good times, when is that money coming, or that boyfriend or girlfriend coming, or that job promotion coming, or when am I supposed to get that new puppy dog? It is always 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 months away. And when you finally reach that date, guess what? You had to go through another hard time, which is right around the corner, like starting tomorrow at 6 p.m., and then in 5, 8, 12 months again, you're going to hit that good point because you didn't learn the message, whatever the message may be. So my question is on this: do too many people out there, James, rely and base their lives dangerously on psychic readings?
I find that there's a small core of people, or on our show, but there is a group that will want to call in every 2 weeks to get a reading. And I've talked to psychics like Marianne Morgan, who does one reading that'll cover you for 10 to 15 years. So it's the readings aren't getting down to the minutia of your life. It is, this is the path you're on, and this is how it's going to turn out. Marianne Morgan also wants to tell you the date and cause of your death. So don't go there. But I don't think, and I have to kind of disagree with you on some of that, Dave, is that in the times in the readings that I've heard, for example, either Joanna or any of the other mediums we have come in, Mary Ellen Rodriguez for one, they don't, well, actually Mary Ellen Rodriguez, it's like, no, you have to go see a doctor. I'm not going to get into it right now, but you should go see a doctor. And whether the guy went to see a doctor, it's up to him. But she told him he had to go see a doctor. That is quite interesting to me, but it's not, you have to go see a doctor, or tomorrow you've got to stay indoors because a plane's going to fall on you, or you should stop riding your bike to work, or, it's not negative, like you're going to go outside and break a leg. It's usually everything is going okay, and don't worry about what you feel right now, because it is going to get better, and they will give you a time zone that's not 8, 9, 10 months away, but it's like in the next 20 days, you will get to this. And I think that's because of the information that comes from the other side. The information is pretty specific to, this is what this person wants to hear. So if a loved one or a guide comes through and says, okay, this is what information you are, quote unquote, permitted to have at this time. As opposed to, you asked about, am I going to get a job? And the information is, no, you're getting hit by a bus on Wednesday. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. Or what are the numbers to the lottery? Nah, that's not what they do. It's basically this is going to work out. This challenge is going to work out. This challenge you're going to have to readdress by going at it in a different way. Honestly, they're all positive. I haven't met one yet, and even in my readings, I have yet to read for somebody where all hell's going to break loose and they're losing everything they got. Those people are on a path where they're probably not going to go to a psychic.
Elizabeth, I'm going to bring you in because I think you are an extremely talented psychic medium, and you and I have always been close on that level. I have no problem saying that in public. You are one of the people who I go to when I need some spiritual clarification, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so I have, I've gone through my own path with receiving psychic readings and giving psychic readings. And there was a time period in the early 2000s where I was getting too many readings, and it was micromanaging, and then I wouldn't act on the information given. And I procrastinated terribly. And so all of these things that could have happened that would have been positive and good didn't, because I was really just waffling in anxiety and getting another reading and getting another reading and getting another reading. And it was when I stopped getting readings all the time and started to more consistently, I'm still not 100% on this. I probably need like a life coach or something to, whip me into shape. But when I started acting on the guidance given, that I started to see the success, or started to see the things, the experiences that I wanted to have manifest. And it wasn't just the, here, do these affirmations or A-formations or do this vortex work. It was go apply yourself, go down and get your license, go do your taxes, go fix your car, get all of those ducks in an order that you need to have in order, and stop worrying so much about what's in the Akashic records about your situation. And when I stopped worrying, I started seeing what had been predicted. And when I started working with it on a daily basis, like it's a dance, like you're just working with these things in the physical world, and you're kind of dancing with it, and you're going to, do your work, and then you realize if you don't do your work around it, you let that slide, it's not going to come out the way your guides were talking about when it was a stronger potential. So it's more about taking real responsibility for what's in front of your face in the physical world more often than getting a reading. For me, that's been my personal understanding about that. And yes, sometimes I've had to give people bad news and say, if you keep overspending, you're going to lose your apartment. But if you stop, then you won't. And and I've heard back from them after they lose their apartment saying, "You said I wouldn't lose it." I said, I said you wouldn't lose it if you stopped overspending. So it's like, it is really. I think readings should be less often. They should be once a year if you're, if you want to fine tune, or 4 times a year if you've got a lot going on. But I rarely get them now myself. I love people who see me 4 times a year, because at least I know I've got them and, as clients 4 times a year. But literally, sometimes even that's too much. So,
Eric Cooper, sorry, I'm cutting you off there. Eric Cooper, you deal with some very talented psychics through Forest Moon Paranormal. I was lucky enough to get a reading from Skeeter Wellhouse on Saturday last week during the Paracon. What a talented lady she is. What do you think? Do you think that there are too many mediums or psychics out there who are able to predict the bad, but when it comes to the good, they struggle with it?
I do, and again, I think it's up to the individual psychic whether or not they want to, I think it boils down to agenda with some of them. And yeah, I do think you draw in the crowds that they got to have a reading every day, and they got to have a reading every month. As a pagan, I usually just do a Wheel of the Year reading. My mate does that for me. I don't believe in reading your own cards exactly. But no, we just do a reading of the year at New Year's. But I do think, yeah, people rely on readings sometimes too much. And what people need to understand too, a life event or energy shift can change or alter the reading. And I don't know, Elizabeth may be able to clarify that as well. But yeah, I think when it comes to mediums, you do have people, society, that they rely too much. And I think it depends on the individual medium whether or not they're going to go positive or negative.
Rich Giordano, what do you think? Because I know you're quite a skeptical guy. As much as you like a good turkey sandwich, I'm not sure you're going for a reading.
Well, I've gone to many readings, have many readings, and the one thing that frustrates me is that not one has ever found out the thing that makes me tick, the main event that happened in my life. Not one psychic has ever caught it, was never able to tell me about it, not even close. And there's too many psychics out there who give generalized readings. There's too many psychics who try to get direct and they fail. I've interviewed them. I've actually was a psychic because I tried it out for 3 months on my radio show, and I actually was pretty good at it because I'm a pretty good detector on people's feelings and emotions, the way they sound, the answers they give. I'm very good at that. And I don't know if it's something that we're born with, or somehow when you're brought up that you are a person who has to focus on other people because maybe you were brought up in a bad environment. So you would have to know the way that person's going to act when they got home, or you would have to know how Uncle Charlie is. You have to know what mood he's in. Was he drinking? Was he too forward to you? Was he too touchy? So I think people are brought up a certain way that makes them get these feelings on people. And as a person who tried to become a psychic, because I always thought my whole life I had this intuition where I would see things before they'd happen, but it's gone away from me. And I just have a hard time with a lot of the psychics I see lately, especially people who are on TV, like the Long Island Medium. And then it's come to find out that, she's been given information before some of her readings. But, it's hard to tell unless you're in the know, unless you're there with them. So I don't know, Dave. I am a skeptic, but I'm also a believer. So I'm just waiting for that one person to come up to me and say, you know what? I want to do a reading on you because this happened to you when you were 7. I'd be like, wow, let's talk. And that hasn't happened yet.
Goatman, you got the final word on this.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, I have to say that I was a skeptic, too, at one point. All this stuff that we talk about on this channel. But until I came to Spaced Out Radio, I actually learned about Special Gift, and I started getting readings after I came to this, this station. And basically, I opened up my mind to it, and I got readings. I got a couple of readings. Now I get one every 3 months. So I would have to say that I don't really focus heavily, on what's said in the reading, but I do focus on pinpoints that I should focus on, basically, and especially the one that we did on 9/11, which was a very touching one, was really helpful to me, as I opened up my mind to learn about my cousin that day. So I have to say, from a skeptic to somebody who believes. So I'm excited about that. So
let's move on here as we continue on the SOR Round Table with a great panel that we have tonight. I want to get into, let me look at my list. We could get.
I see you rubbing your hands together.
You know what? I've got some pretty heavy topics on here tonight. I'm not going to lie, and I think I'm going to save them for hour number 2. But let's get into this one. And Rich, we're going to start with you on this one. There's a lot of paranormal teams out there, and there are a lot of brilliant people investigating the paranormal on a daily or weekly basis. We also have the crews out there who make it more like Pokemon Go for ghost hunting rather than actual conducting investigations. But I'm going to ask you this. Do you think out of all these paranormal teams that are out there, there is enough definition of what they are trying to solve?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course there's a definition of what they're trying to solve. Are you talking about all paranormal, like aliens and ghosts, all that stuff?
Just ghost hunting right now. Just ghost hunting.
Well, I think so. They're just trying to figure out what's going on after you die. Are you able to come back and talk? Are you able to touch people, move things? Are you someone who is evil and has turned to, the negative side? Are you someone who got your wings and went to heaven? It's all in your belief system. But with the evidence they're coming up with, it's pinpointing to that there is something that happens after you die. Your energy, so your energy goes somewhere. It just doesn't disappear. But why is what makes a person be residual, and what makes them an intelligent person when they die? Or is that even possible? So we're trying to figure that out, or they're trying to figure that out. That's what I think, yeah.
I get that, though, but I think there are too many people out there, and James, maybe you could concur with me because you are also part of the Canadian Paranormal Society, who is affiliated with this show. And I'm very, very interested. You guys, when you go on an investigation, you guys are searching for answers, either to help people or to, try and figure out what's going on in a haunted building or a haunted job, moving spirits over to the other side, maybe trying to tell the history of what is going on. You guys have a set goal in mind. But there are a number, and when I say a number, I'm saying probably in the thousands of groups out there where they have no clue at all what to do with their evidence. They have no clue at all what they are actually looking for. They're just buying all this technology to play with ghosts. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking, should every paranormal team out there have some sort of direction of what they are doing? Because unlike what Rich said, he sees it, I don't.
Well, there are a lot of asshats. They're probably with the, what was it, Dave? How many paranormal groups did you determine were in the U.S.?
36,000.
36,000. That's just on social media.
God.
Okay, so on social media, 36,000. And unfortunately, they're probably all on social media because it's kind of an ego thing. And when people say, well, I'm doing this because I want to help someone who lives in a haunted house, well, that's bull crap, because all they're doing, and I do the exact same thing, I have questions because I've experienced spirits. So I'm walking around with all these questions in my head, and if you're going to allow me in your house so I could possibly get answers to these questions, so be it. And in that way, I can also determine whether that thing goes bump in the night is a squirrel or you've got something going on. Now, in our group, we're in that list of the most hated paranormal investigators around because we find something, we move it out. So with our evidence, we focus on the name and whether they want to go. We don't focus on, okay, we found out it's a male voice or a child's voice, or yes, you have something in there. Well, most of these people call us because there's something in there. Like, don't tell me my place is haunted. I wouldn't have called you if I just need to know, is this a bad thing? Because most people call because they're afraid of the unknown. These things aren't most of the time. The majority of the time, they're just something that's not going to drive you too crazy. But we'd like to move them on. It's that, and if you go to the Canadian Paranormal Society website, we actually have a conversation you should have when you pick a paranormal investigative team. And one of them is, what do you do with your evidence? Oh, we take it and analyze it. And then what do you do? Well, then we let you listen to it. And then what do you do? We'll probably ask to come back with more people and get more evidence. And then what do you do? Then we'll analyze it and show it to you. And the loop goes on. I was on a paranormal team a couple of years ago, and they would go to the same place over and over and over again and get nice recordings, let the people listen to it, and then phone them up next month. Yeah, we don't want to come back over. Well, you've just found a spirit in a place. It's not bothering anybody now, but you just want to keep talking to it and poke at it. No, it's move it on. It's not supposed to be there. Get it out of there. And it's those idiots, or as you were, it's those people who run paranormal tours or ghost hunting tours for, I think Christina George was saying there's some people who charge $1,000 to go into an old psych ward and rattle the cages of the people who were, picked on in their life and now being picked on in death. Like, that's going to the zoo and poking at the poor little three-legged rabbit. It's no fun.
Absolutely.
Stupid.
James, we're going to move on to Joey here. Joey, do you think that there is too much going on in the paranormal and not enough focus on what should be happening and what we should be trying to find?
Of course. I feel that there is no focus at all. I mean, if anything, 10% or 15% of these organizations and groups actually know what they're doing. I mean, like, all the rest of them just go in, oh, your house is haunted, and they do nothing. So it's more or less, a lot of these groups are unfocused, and they really need to get focused. And honestly, if there were schools out there to teach it, I think maybe that they could get more focused. But I think there's so many groups, first of all, and being that there's so many groups, there's no focus in any of these groups unless they come up with some premise or some mission that they have. But I say that 10-15% of paranormal groups actually know what they're doing, and I'm going to stick to that. So,
Elizabeth, how about you? Do you think there's enough defined roles out there?
I think the issue has really been whether something is academic versus not academic. Can you get money for it? Can you not? If it's just entertainment, there's no definition. It's ghosts are scary. Let's go find some. But if I had money and I could go do a research project, it would be how does the presence or how do presences of ghosts affect the psychology and learning of children in the home? I had ghosts that helped me learn to play the piano when I was a kid, and I play pretty darn well. And it's like, what are people relationships with the non-physical? How are those relationships causing changes in people who are in the physical? Those would be interesting subjects to study. But you don't have people out there coming up with neat and unique ideas for study with ghosts. It's just like what everybody says. Well, then we're going to collect it. Well, then we're going to present it to you. And it's like, well, what's the point? What are we learning about being human in this world? Not much. Just that they're a ghost. Okay. And they're ghosts in somebody's house. Okay. But what else? Yeah. So I'm disappointed. We're not going far enough, I don't think.
Eric Cooper, I would like your opinion on this because you have your own paranormal crisis team, the Forest Moon Paranormal.
Well, and that's where you take it a step further. Okay, so you've got this apparition. You've proven there's a spirit there. What are you going to do about the spirit? As well as the crisis of the family, if there is a crisis. I mean, if they're terrified by it, if it's cause scratches, whatnot. So you've proven there's a spirit there. Are we going to move it on? Are we going to mediate and calm the spirit down so that it can live with the family versus, terrify the family? It needs to be moved on. We've proven that there's spirits. We've proven. I think it's beating up a dead horse, and a lot of groups are actually reinventing the wheel because it's already been shown. I don't give a damn about an apparition in Waverly Hills. I don't. I already know the paranormal's here. I already know spirits exist. 36,000 groups. I think your 10% is pretty much right on, Joey. When you said that number originally, Dave, I was surprised on one side, but wasn't on the other, because ever since Paranormal TV, you've got every Jim and Joe jumping up saying, "I want to be a Ghostbuster." Well, that's the wrong attitude to have. And like I told you earlier, Dave, we're working with FOG now. FOG's going to take over the physical side.
Okay, explain to people who FOG is.
Okay, FOG is Friends of Ghosts. They are another paranormal team here in Washington that we're going to be working hand to hand with, and they'll be taking. I'll be doing triage of the paranormal. Is it abduction? Is it spirit? If it's spirit, it's going to FOG. If it's abduction, I'll have my own team take care of that. And well, not take care of it, but help the family out. That kind of thing. And we got Tyler Allen taking Bigfoot and cryptid.
I got to cut you off there because we only got a couple minutes left, and I want to get Amber Avalona's opinion on this.
Hey, well, I really like, of course, what everybody else has said. As far as teams, I've worked with quite a few different teams and spoken with many other members, and I think the definitions are varied as far as the goals of each team. Some are there to help, some are there for, the fun of it, some are there for getting their own TV show, some are just interested in kind of answering their own questions that they've dealt with for years. The educational levels is really what I focus on of each team. And I want to see, what does that team actually know? Okay, yeah, you can use your equipment and you can catch some type of EVP, but can you go beyond that? Can you tell me what is actually happening in this home and how to fix it? And if you can't, then you should not be placing yourself out there as being able to help people, because you're not. All you're doing is really just confirming their fears, and then you're leaving them in the midst of this sometimes horrible situation, and you go on with your life, and then you sometimes have even kicked up the activity because you've gone there and investigated. So I love it when teams work with people or either train themselves to really get to the bottom of issues and to help. And I would love to see more Catholic exorcists. I would love to see more exorcists in general. I would love to see more people who can determine whether it maybe is not even something bad. And just to kind of like let the family know, you know what, you think it's a ghost or a demon or whatever. That's really not what it is. Here's what it is. You know, it's something that's here to protect you and your family, or it's whatever. And let's kind of like dig deeper in the field. And somebody mentioned paranormal schools before. Awesome. I'd love to see that too.
Me too. And you know what? We're going to get to a couple questions from our audience right after the break. Tonight on the Spaced Out Radio Paranormal Round Table, we are with Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. You just heard Amber Avalona. She is part of Ask Amber. It is a coming feature on Spaced Out Radio's website. Rich Giordano from The Rich Giordano Show. We got Joey Giggles from the WIRN Network, Elizabeth Anglin, and Uncle Jimbo James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. We'll be right back right after this.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, News Director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report, and let's find out the answers together.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. We're starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium, Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride. My bag is packed. I am heading off into the wilderness to find my Zen, my Chi, but I'm going to leave the studio nice and clean for Elizabeth Anglin and Uncle Jimbo James Tyson as they are in for Spaced Out Weekend tomorrow and Sunday night. I will be back on Monday, October 31st. Karen Dahlman is going to be with us. We are doing a live Ouija board session for 3 hours on Spaced Out Radio. Make sure you tune in for that. Your questions are necessary to make it happen. Let's have some fun with this. Let's get all spooky and scary, even though she uses the Ouija board in a polite and positive way. Either way, it's going to be a fun time. We're going to test it out, see how it works out. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Tune us in on TuneIn. You can download our shows on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also download our shows, this broadcast, and others on iTunes, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. We will be doing a draw for the SOR Space Travelers in the next hour. So if you're an SOR Space Traveler, you're going to want to listen in to see if you are a lucky winner. This will be the 4th prize we've given out. We do it once a month because it's our way of giving back to you. If you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Do us a favor. Visit freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight, Psychophant. Sycophant is your password. Make sure you use it wisely if you're an SOR space traveler. If a non-traveler comes up and says, "What's that password for?" the only thing you got to respond is, "Exactly." We're going to continue on with the SOR Roundtable discussion. We do it the final Friday of every month. We are joined by Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal, James Tyson and Elizabeth Anglin from Spaced Out Weekend, Joseph Francis Aquilino from the WIRN Network, Rich Giordano from the Rich Giordano Show, and the newest member of the Spaced Out Radio team, Amber Avalona, who will soon have a column on our website called Ask Amber. It's all about paranormal. It's going to be a lot of fun. Welcome back, crew.
Hello, Dave.
Good to be back.
Hello.
We're going to get to
Hello,
Gail.
Dave.
We're going to get to Gail's question right off the bat. And Gail is asking, and Amber, we'll start with you on this one because you had kind of a short answer last time. If a ghost wants to stay in a residence or a building, do you force it out or do you let it stay?
Ooh, good question. I love that question. You know what? With me, it really depends on the situation because I'm able to jump between dimensions. I will usually look at what's going on behind the scenes. I'll look into how it's affecting the people there. Most of the time, I will try to transition a ghost over, and I can usually talk to them or somehow work it out so that that spirit, if it is a spirit, can go to a better place. You know what? Sometimes that's not a spirit. There's something called soul part. And what it is that a piece of somebody's soul can actually disengage itself from that person during a very traumatic experience. So if you have something like a child in a hotel, and you're like, this child is just running all around the hotel, and it never, does anything, never ages, all that stuff. It doesn't always have to be an actual full body apparition. It can be a soul part, so part of that soul of that child. And it's always best in that case to return that soul part to that soul because that ghost may have already incarnated again. And if it did, it incarnated without that part of itself. And that can cause a lot of problems in a future incarnation. And so by reuniting that part of that soul, you're actually helping to heal that person and in this present lifetime. So I'll definitely take a look at, that's just one example, but I will do whatever I feel is necessary. And I'm always in touch with the angels, ascended masters, spirit guides, the ghosts themselves, and a number of other beings to make sure that it's done properly. So that's my answer.
Goatman, what do you think?
I personally wouldn't mind living with a spirit. It depends on if it was good or nice. If it was a poltergeist or a demon, obviously I would want to get rid of it. But I wouldn't mind living with a ghost. I think it would be kind of cool, actually.
James Tyson, would you move it on even if the ghost asked to stay?
It comes down to depending what it's up to. We moved one on in our basement. It was really sad, and it kind of walked in with its head down, according to some people afterwards, and went on and carried on with the rest of his life. It was here because my daughter is a really high empath and like my kid, and she got freaked out by it. But there are some, we've done investigations where they're just badass people in real life and they're continuing to be badass in the afterlife and very anti-women, very brutal. So you basically push those ones out. The ones that want to go, like when we're up in concrete in the tavern there, we've got 2 out of the 4 that we encountered that want to go. But the 22-year-old guy from the turn of the century, imagine being 22 years old from the 1800s and you're in a tavern with music and girls dancing. He's not too excited about going. And he's not being an ass, so why not leave him there until somebody else comes along or when he approaches somebody for help. But two of them, the two ladies, both said, yeah, they'd like to go. So, yeah, we'll look at that. Oh, and by the way, David, and now everybody, Dave sat through our paranormal investigation there, and I'm looking at my recorder going, and it's peaking, and everything is perfect. Nothing showed up on the recorder. Like
Really?
we weren't even there.
Nothing.
Nada.
It erased
Nada.
all
And
the audio.
I went through and I actually pulled the SIM card out of there, looked through that, and then I actually looked to see if I could access a hard drive inside of the Zoom recorder. Nothing. And with that red light on, Dave, you saw it. It was there,
Yes.
and every time I looked at it, I saw the peaks going up, and I saw the numbers counting like we were recording. The end of the night, gone.
That's terrible. Well, weird, but terrible.
But we're going back.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Rich Giordano, do you think spirits should be moved on even if they don't want to?
Even if they don't want to, wow. Just to rehash what other folks said here, depending on the situation, if they're hurting people, I had just to bring up my own situation, we had in a house that I lived in about 10 years ago when I just got into ufology and everything, seemed like a whole door of weird stuff opened up in my life, and woke up one morning to a woman's face that turned into like a devil thing. I woke up in tears, screaming. Found out there was a girl in our house that was being protected by the mother. It's just that I guess her father was. We brought in some psychics and they tried to get rid of the girl. And then when we sold the house, the girl and the mother, because the mother was being very abusive to the girl, whose father was supposedly also abusive to this girl. So every time I'd walk by the kitchen, not every time, but once in a while, it was more than you'd want. You'd see a girl in school clothes kind of hiding in the corner in the kitchen where we normally wouldn't eat, and it freaked me out the first couple of times I saw it. My wife saw it at the time. So when we brought the psychics in, they said that there was a lot of abuse in this house and aimed towards the girl from both the mother and the father. So I guess the father had gone, the mother was there protecting the girl supposedly from me and didn't like me, so the mother kept attacking me, and we had to get rid of the mother. And supposedly when we sold the house, people would come in, do walkthroughs, and they're like, whose girl is that? Is that your daughter? And I'm like, what are you talking about? There was a little girl in the closet kneeling on the floor. And I'm like, oh my God. So we never got rid of the girl, but the mother was gone. So I think there are certain situations where, depending on your situation, in my situation, I was being scratched, I was being taunted, and we wanted that spirit out. And supposedly the daughter went with her, according to the psychics that came in. But she never did leave. So that was awfully strange. I don't know why the girl came back. Maybe she liked it there. Maybe didn't want to be near mom and dad anymore and decided to come back and stay where she knew was her home. It was an old home, so who knew what went on there 50, 60 years ago. But I think that if they don't want to leave, should we get rid of them? If you can and they're hurting people, yes. If they're not, then I guess who are we to move them? That's my question. Are we supposed to? How do we know these things unless we're having a connection with them and they talk back? So I don't know. It's all depends on the situation, I guess. And that's that.
Coop, your opinion. Do you believe a spirit should be moved on even if it doesn't want to be?
I'm with the rest of the panel. It's a case-by-case situation. And I totally agree with James. Yeah, like the 22-year-old spirit in the hub, if he wants to stay, he's having fun, he's not doing anything wrong, by all means, let him stay, have fun until he's ready to go, and then he's going to approach us and say, I want to go now. In the case of a malevolent entity, yeah, we pushed them out. We've had cases where we've done simple mediation and made an arrangement or agreement with the client and the spirit. They didn't know they were scaring the dog or the kids. And, okay, they know they're scaring the dog or the kids. They agree not to now. By all means, let them stay.
Elizabeth, you get final word on this question.
I agree with everyone else. I work in a way that's very similar to Amber. and it is a case-by-case basis. It's, why is the spirit here? What are they trying to accomplish? They still have free will, even if they are a spirit, but if they're very sick and confused and causing problems, then it's kind of intervention time. And you look at all the different levels of what's going on. Have they become confused? Is it a partial person? Is it an aspect, just like what Amber said? But, in my situation here, there's a ghost in town. His name is Derby Jim. I'm living in his house. When I moved in, he didn't go to the other side. He went down the street to hang out with his friends. And that's his free will. Derby Jim people knew him. He was a nice guy. He's down the street now. He decided, it would be creepy if we lived here together because you could see me and you're a single woman and we're not together. We're not a couple. So I'll go down here with my friends. It's like, okay. We'll leave it at that. Derby Jim's doing his thing. I'm living in his former house and, I don't have a problem with that and he doesn't seem to have a problem with it either. So, that's that case. That's the case.
All right, we are moving on in the panel tonight because we have a lot of topics to get to, and Cooper, we're going to start with you on the next one. Do we forget too easily as paranormal enthusiasts that spirits were once people in investigations?
I think many do, and you see it on TV when they sit there and taunt them and you cuss them out and say, show yourself, and, get demanding. And your listeners have heard it over and over again, but watch the others. That's a prime example. They were alive. You're in their domain. They're not in yours. As far as the spirits go that at one point resided in that residence or business. So yeah, I think it's forgotten all the time. And that's one thing investigators need to look at is when you're investigating a residence, was it a former resident? And you're in their space. Not the other way around. And that's where you kind of figure out how you can mediate or pass them on if they want to go. I think in some of those cases, those are the cases you might want to encourage them to move on.
Amber, what do you think of that? Do you think that people who are in these ghost hunting groups tend to forget because of these paranormal tourism places, whether it's Waverly Hills, whether it's a rundown prison, whether it's any insane asylum or old tavern, that we forget that these were once people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've definitely talked about that before, and I think so. I mean, like was mentioned about the taunting. I mean, I can't believe that people would go into something like I've mentioned before, an insane asylum, and start taunting these people who had such horrible lives when they were here. And it's like that abuse, it's almost like you're bullying someone who is weaker than you. And I hate seeing that. And so I always speak up about it whenever I can. And I've never encountered it in real life when I'm with a team, thankfully, because I work with teams that are more highly evolved than that. But if it does get me when I see it on television. And that's one thing I would like to see changed. You had asked us earlier about the whole TV show thing. I would really like to see some other teams, like the people that are on this panel are amazing. And I would like to see people of that caliber start to take over the paranormal Hollywood genre, and so that we can start like I said before, raising that bar. And so let's stop that, please. No more hurting people who have already been hurt enough.
Joey, what is your opinion on that? Do you think that we forget that spirits were once living beings?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's almost like ghostism. It's almost like the way we treat animals, Honestly, it's almost like the way we treat animals, like they're non-existent. The same thing with ghosts. I mean, you're treating them like they're non. Well, I mean, they're not bodily, but they are some sort of an entity, And yes, they were people at one time, so they should be treated with respect, especially the ones that stick to their houses, the ones that have a meaning to be here, the ones that have a message for us. I think we need to treat them in the right way. And one other point, Amber's point was really good. Yeah, the takeover of Hollywood, of the people that actually open up their mind and do self-research would be great. I mean, all of us here try to do our own self-research the best that we can on these topics. And, we try to come here with the best answers possible. So I agree with Amber on that. So, there you go.
Rich Giordano, I'd like your opinion on that.
On if we are forgetting that we're treating or forgetting that there are people at one time. Yeah, well, and just to bring up that point about abusing ghosts, well, what about when the ghosts abuse you? I mean, I was being scratched and poked at and prodded and woken up in the middle of the night with fingers down my throat, coughing as I woke up. I didn't want that woman doing that to me. I felt like she was trying to choke me out. And there was a few times where I did get mad and yelled, you want something? Come and get it. I'm sorry. That was before I knew that this was an abusive person and all that. But I could understand you want a more highly evolved person on TV that's going to be doing these investigations, but a lot of times that doesn't bring in the ratings. So, how are you going to keep your show going strong if it's just always monotone and nicey nice? And every now and then, our society likes violence, unfortunately. And I think it does suck when I see Zach Bagans on Ghost Adventures screaming at somebody in an insane asylum. That person has been through a lot, and we are forgetting that they are people. But when you're getting attacked and you got a ghost that was mean as a person and is still mean in the afterlife, I think they need to be a little bit vamped up to be shown who's boss. But like the other guy said, we're in their realm too. We're sharing the same space, maybe in a different dimension or time, but we need to have more respect in the field. That is definitely one thing we need to have. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a situational thing, and we don't need to abuse a mentally incapable person or, things like that. But there are people who are murderers and rapists and other things that are still here after they die, and they're still attacking people and feeling up women and punching men and kicking animals. So how do you treat that ghost? I mean, sometimes you just get so frustrated you want to lash out. And I understand that being a guy, you're just like, you're invading my space. You can touch me, but I can't touch you. How's that fair? So I don't know. I understand what you guys are saying, but depending on who it is and what that ghost was as a person, maybe they deserve to be yelled at sometimes. It sucks. I know. I'm
True enough. True enough. Elizabeth Anglin, your opinion.
Yeah, there are spirits out there, and these are not ghosts. A lot of times these can be spirits, sometimes ghosts. Spirits. But when you talk about, there are people in the world who are mediums who don't know they're mediums, and they have a tendency to fall prey to spirits who like to do possessions and have absolutely no respect for personal space whatsoever. And they haven't earned a physical body. And they're just trying to get their, 15 minutes of physicality through the unsuspecting, unconscious spirit medium. It's like, those you want to kick, those you want to have the exorcists come or the people who do clearings come and get those, because they are the a-holes and the bitchs. And much like what Rich is saying, the mother and the daughter, they have free will, but if they're so sick and so twisted already, there is a way of moving them on, or you can call on divine intervention, you can call on the angels, you can call on the ascended masters, and move them on, not in a way that is mean to them, but send them to their most right and perfect place, which is not in my space, never to return to my space. I do that a lot. I mean, when I work with people, because people do get certain things attached to them, and I'm not overlooking the free will of the things that are attached, because some of these things really don't need to be where they are. They need to be in their most right and perfect place, which is not continuing to have this sick, twisted, toxic relationship with each other and anybody else who's near them. So anyway, I feel for you, Rich, but yeah, we don't want to treat them like they're, if somebody is ill, they do need healing, but sometimes they need to be in their own space to do it, and that's not your space. So, yeah.
James Tyson, you get final word on this one.
That sounds like me at work dealing with my clients as a policeman. You can't go in there prejudging that everybody's, just because somebody's yelling and screaming and punching a wall, that he's bad or she's bad. It's what put that person in that frame of mind, and how can we get that resolved without physical contact or demeaning the person. So it's the same thing when you're doing paranormal investigations. You treat them all politely. You say you're coming in without out judgment, but as you get in, and I have been challenged by entities on the other side, very, very grumpy ones, and I don't respond in kind. Heck, I don't respond in kind as a policeman. I very seldom get in an argument with somebody. It's a communication, and I do have those. I can really see sometimes where people don't respect the energy as being or had been a human being. And I can see that because it's easy. It's easy. It's like it's like texting some Yahoo or commenting on some Yahoo on social media. It's not like communicating with a real person. You're texting and hitting send, and it's going out into ether. And what you send may have a negative or a positive reaction to anyone who looks at it. It's the same thing in talking with them. Try to be respectful. Try to be nice. Even if they're yelling and screaming and erasing all your audio, weasels, it's really not a big deal. Take a deep breath and go at it again. We're all here as energy.
Isn't that peaceful and lovely? Oh. Just peaceful and lovely. All right, let's move on here. Let's get to something a little bit more conspiratorial before we get back into the paranormal.
Fire.
And this is a topic that has been around my mind for a while. I haven't really done a full show on Spaced Out Radio yet about this, but I think it's about time that I find someone who can do this. I've had this question in my mind for years, and we will start off with you, Eric Cooper, from Forest Moon Paranormal. Why do you think we've never gone back to the moon after the Apollo missions?
Okay, I've got my theory on that, and it all goes back to Neil Armstrong's broken transmission, where they cut him off because he said, "We are not alone, and there are bases on the backside of the moon." My theory on that, and is only my opinion, not based on any kind of fact, I got to throw that out there, but I believe the moon is already inhabited, and we were warned not to come back. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
That is one theory. Rich Giordano, you deal a lot with UFOs and extraterrestrials on your show. Why do you think we've never gone back to the moon?
Well, it's real expensive. I believe we have gone there. I believe exactly, I forgot his name, the guy who just said it. Same thing. We were told
Eric.
not to come back. Eric, thank you. Yeah, there's known people who have come out who used to work with NASA that used to scrub out all the domes on the moon and the buildings and on the craft that are seen, not only on the dark side, on the bright side too. It's there's something going on the moon that we just don't know about, but I think our government definitely knows about it. It's why we haven't gone back. They were talking about going back. I know the Chinese were thinking they sent a probe up there just several months ago, earlier in the year. They landed it on the moon, and the pictures look fantastic, but they weren't in any place where the bases were. So yeah, I think it's the same thing. I think we were told not to go there, If we go back, you got consequences. And that's it. That really is. It's that simple.
Can I add something real quick, Dave?
Yes, please.
Look at Mars. We had 3 different probes looking at Mars. They disappeared. They crashed. I don't think we've ever been to Mars. I think the Pathfinder that is supposedly on Mars is actually fabricated. I believe it was filmed in Arizona where there's red sands. I don't think we've been to Mars yet either. That's just my opinion on that one.
I will disagree with you on that one. I think we have a base on Mars because okay. I am just... and you know what? In November, the 24th, Randy Kramer is going to be on this show. The last time I had Randy Kramer on this show, my show got hacked big time. It lasted 21 minutes before the hackers took over and literally shut down everything of mine. It was pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. I think there's something to that. I was interview number 14 that he had ever done, and 6 out of the 14 were hacked.
Wow.
So I'll disagree with you on the Mars thing. I'm a firm believer when it comes to the moon. I agree. Neil Armstrong said nothing. And Apollo astronaut Ken Johnson actually heard Neil Armstrong on the medical channel say, they are here, they are up on the hill, and they are watching us. And he swears by that. And I think there's a big reason, too, that all of a sudden the Chinese pictures that were coming on with their probe on the moon, the pictures were, and like Rich said, they were beautiful, they were intense, they were gorgeous, and then all of a sudden it just went silent. I thought that was kind of strange. Goatman.
Too perfect, maybe?
No, I think they were maybe told to shut it down.
Yep.
Goatman, your call.
Dave.
Your call.
Yeah, I'm going to take a more realistic approach and say we've been there and done that. Why do we got to go back? You know, but when it comes down to it, I also think that if the space program was actually funded, we could actually go back. You know, but unfortunately, the space program is not funded, so we can't go back even if we wanted to. So, I'm done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Amber Avalona.
Yeah, well, as you guys were talking about that, it made me think about the Spaceport America here in New Mexico, and that's something that we're just trying to get people to, Richard Branson, build the spaceport and get people up into space, not even go to the moon, and we can't even do that. It's just, one thing after another. And they did a test flight a while back, and the pilot died. And I thought that was really strange. To me, it did not feel like an accident. It felt like the ship was tampered with. And so I do believe that there are people and also entities that are out there that are trying to stop us from going into space. I think that once we do breach that barrier, we're going to have a whole new set of topics to talk about here on Spaced Out Radio. But it's just going to take a while because we have people and beings that want us to go up and then those that do not. And a lot of people are not ready to mentally process the fact that there could be extraterrestrials. And that's kind of sad. We're living in the year 2016, and we should already be past this, but we're not. So we might just need to slow it down, and it's going to happen regardless of who's coming against it. It's just a matter of that, 100th monkey effect. Once we get enough people that believe in it and that energy going toward those missions, then it'll take place.
Elizabeth Anglin, I got a different take for you on this one because Shar brings up a good question in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, and she is saying President Obama says when he's done at the White House, he wants to go to work and travel to Mars and wants, or work on traveling to Mars and wants to set up a house there, maybe for an extended stay, we don't know. But if you take the word of Andrew Bashago verbatim, he will tell you that both he and Obama have already been to Mars. Is this a little coincidental?
I don't know anything about Andrew Bashago's I mean, I've read some of his stuff, and so it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Well, that's interesting. And in terms of President Obama, I have no idea why that man would admit to wanting to go to Mars or the moon unless he's making a joke. I will tell you personally, there is a base on the moon. I have been there, and I've been there many times. So it's kind of like, you know, you can laugh at me if you want, but there is a base on the moon. It is just there, and it's in use, and the aliens that are there don't want human beings that they don't work with messing around up there. Period.
Wait, is she remote?
Story.
You remote view?
No, I've been there.
Okay.
I am an abductee. I have been an abductee. I have traveled on ships since I was a little teeny itty bitty kid.
Okay.
So I actually
They
have
still
a
won't let
conscious
her
memory
drive.
of going there. You know, it's like, oh look, this is the backside of the moon. Okay, well that's different, you know. But
cool.
The things that abductees know that nobody wants to hear. Guess what? This is one of them. There's a base on the moon. Moving on.
Right.
What else?
Let's move it on. Next topic here on the Mighty SOR. I'm going to get serious here for a minute because I have been watching all this footage or lack thereof from the mainstream media on what is happening at Standing Rock in North Dakota. And this is probably going to be my big-time serious topic of the night because I like to hit at least one of them every time we do this show. I have never been a protester in my life. I have never walked a protest line. In fact, when I see a lot of unions on strike, I'm the one yelling at them to get back to work and stop holding people and children hostage when they are doing their walkouts from work or their job action or whatever it is. I've never really been a union guy, so I've never really put up with protests. But Jesus Christ here. Seriously, we're dealing with water. Water is a human staple. Oil isn't. And as much as we need oil to make things work on this world, because apparently we've evolved technologically in every place else except when it comes to natural resources. And yes, oil runs the world. Let's face it. But I'm curious. I don't blame the police officers for what they are being told they need to do. I do think that there has to be some leeway here when you look in Michigan and see what has happened to the water in Michigan, or the fracking that is causing water to be poisoned and people cannot drink from their own taps anymore. James, I want to start with you on this one, okay? Because I'm pretty sure that a lot of those police officers do not want to be doing what they are doing right now, but they have a job to do. And I do stand, though, with the First Nations that are down there protesting, not just for themselves on their private land, but for people in general, because clean water shouldn't be a right. I mean, shouldn't be a privilege. It should be a right.
Yeah, I agree. And just for full disclosure, I worked on a tactical team, what in the United States they may call a riot team. So we were sent out when these type of things happened. And you can imagine, and I can only speak for my country, we would practice, and a lot of this work was done in a classroom and cross-cultural and diffusing. And a lot of the psychology of a crowd and how individuals might run a mass of people. Okay, that said, you've got a group of protesters in an area where, and a lot of it's they may not be on their own land, but they are protesting something that will affect the water flow to their own land, and this is what they want to do, and they want to draw attention to it. There are a number of things that both sides in this struggle are playing us. We've got private security from the company, and these guys are ex-military who who work for a security company coming in with dogs, heavily armed, and you've got a bunch of fellows who have been trained in military tactics and just love this kind of stuff. They're basically private mercenaries hired by a company. And I've run into them when I was up at a gold mine strike up in the Northwest Territories. A bunch of thugs. And one of our guys got taken down with a couple of axe handles, and his boss fired warning shots over the guys' heads. Well, he said he fired straight up in the air, but we know he put about 5 rounds about 3 feet over the head of the protesters as they were beating on the Mountie. These guys were breaking in to steal dynamite. Ended up they killed 6 people up there, but not us, them. But in this case, you've got a group of people that are being pushed down on a number of levels by we'll call it just the white American around there. You've got the mercenaries by the company. You've got police coming in, which will be just overview. You've got undercover FBI people. What we used to do in protests, we would put undercover people in the protests if we knew they were coming months in advance. Like these G8 protests, we would infiltrate them just to make sure that the people involved in the protests were guaranteed the right under the Constitution in our country to protest and to protest peacefully as everyone's allowed to. And that's what we would do. And they would monitor from the inside so we didn't have to hassle anybody.
But
so in this case, you've got the words of people getting shot.
Jim, let me just cut you off here for a quick second, and I apologize. Yeah. I think the thing that pissed me off the most about it today was we have down in Oregon an armed standoff earlier this year with the Bundy faction, which was on government land, and they come to a handshake agreement, and everybody is acquitted in that. And here we have a peaceful protest going on, and I've seen both sides of the video. I haven't really seen the First Nations or the other people protesting really acting up. All they're doing is having a blockade, and we got 141 people arrested today. The police show up with Humvees, armored tanks. Okay, to me, that's not police gear, that's war gear.
Yeah, okay. And that's in the United States. I find that a lot of that ordinance is given to local police from the military. There was some goofy show on in the States about a armorer down in the South who he put an automatic, looked like a machine gun, but it shot grenades on some sheriff's boat in Louisiana. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's a Mark 19.
What are you going for? Like, really? Anyway. Don't get me started on that one. But this one down in the U.S. is bizarre. And that one in Oregon, someone did get shot. 1 or 2 people did get shot on there. This is all coming in. This is all coming in on the front end, and I can't remember what they're called. Eric, you might know. Is it the Reddit or the Reddit? Does that ring a bell? It's a group. No. It's basically these. Go ahead.
Reddit is a website that people use to share information, and they've managed to interfere with Reddit.
Okay,
for information sharing. Yeah.
This is a group. They're moving out to Idaho. Where was it? Idaho, Washington, Oregon. We used to have the survivalist groups out in Montana,
you're talking,
Idaho.
Yeah, you're talking about the militia or the 3%ers.
Yeah, and
is that
they're
the Minutemen?
really pushing. No.
Yeah, same. Well, it's the same damn concept.
But this is all happening about the same time. There's a survivalist, the militia, and that's all. You don't need this happening in North Dakota on the other side, because you get those guys coming out with the First Nations or the Native American Indian, and it's just going to be a mess. It is a mess. The militarization of the U.S. police is stupid. And
no, they won't, though, James, because like Malheur, it was actually given to the U.S. government, is actually supported by the First Nations down here. The natives know who the militia guys are, and they're not on the same side. You're not going to end up getting those guys together.
No, I don't mean they're going to be on the same side. I don't want them facing off against each other.
Oh, that'd be a bloodbath.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
that would be bad.
We could see another Battle of Little Bighorn here. We really could.
Yeah,
Dave, you could do a whole show just on this topic alone.
Yeah,
well,
it's way.
We do have to continue to move on here, and I do want to get other opinions here. Rich, I need your opinion on this. Is water more important than oil? I mean, it's an obvious question, but in reality, that's the debate happening in North Dakota.
Yeah, everything was pretty much said that I was thinking, and then some. But yeah, water is much more important than oil, I believe. Without water, how would we survive? I mean, we can survive it would be difficult, but without water, we need to thrive and live. I mean, we can do without oil if we had to. But yeah, what's going on? It's just brutal. I've never seen anything like it in my lifetime anyway. It's just crazy. Yeah, especially, I mean, this is basically what the pipeline, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? The pipeline thing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, I mean, can't we go around and do it a different way? Isn't there another way we can go about this? And that's what I keep thinking. There's got to be another way that, I mean, haven't we taken enough from them? I mean, can't we just let it go and find another way?
Well, get away from fossil fuels for one.
Yeah. I mean, we could.
And we've got that technology.
Yeah, exactly.
Amber Avalona.
Hey, okay, just turned on my mic. Yeah, I have been listening, and I'm just going to come out and say that I don't watch the news a lot because I'm an empath. It's very difficult for me to watch the news. So I don't know personally what's going on. But I will say that, of course, water is more important than oil. That is, though, depending on who you ask. Because we do know that for some people, they will do anything to secure their place in this world. And for those people, lives are expendable. And in this case, it sounds like to those who are running the pipeline that Native American lives are expendable. And that's horrible. You will almost always see me on the side of the Native Americans regardless of what issue it is. And of course our bodies are already 70% water. So, it's definitely more important than oil. We can only survive on average about 3 days without water. And we can go much, much longer without oil. And at some point the oil is going to dry up. So then what do we do? But I'm going to speak on another aspect of this, which is the PSYOPs aspect, because I was a civilian reporter for the military newspaper in North Carolina. I worked a lot with the special ops, things like that, and they do use psychological warfare. So when you have local police or military or whatever coming into this type of protest with heavily armed, that's psychological warfare. They are intending to scare the people into submission. And it's worked before. It's like a shock and awe campaign. And we just have to realize that this is not our only life. And what you choose to do affects you in your lives to come. So standing up to something that's wrong, as the Native Americans are doing in this case, is really going to bless them in the future, regardless of how this turns out. So I really do give them my love, I give them my support, and I hope that this turns out okay for everybody involved. So that's what I wanted to say.
Elizabeth Anglin, you get final word on this topic?
Well, I'm just surprised that it's taken over 20 years for somebody to stand up to oil company or power company over bad environmental impact statements. When I first got out of school, I had a geographic informations degree, and I was editing environmental impact statements in Albuquerque. And our scientists would come up and they would do reasonable environmental impact statements, and the big head of the company would come to me and say, take that out, take that out, take that out, take that out, take that out. So by the time he had me get done with editing, which I hated, I wanted to slit my wrists, I was taking out all of the environmental impacts that could possibly be argued with out of the report and sending it on to the state, and the state would rubber stamp it, and then the EPA would rubber stamp it. It would be A-OK. The fact that it is not, that was in 1994, and this is so much later, and now, you know, good for them that they're standing up. Good for them that they have no weapons. And gosh darn it, why don't we all just go help them? I'll start calling people, and, we'll just show up there, because most of what's happened in the last several decades with our environment has been a bunch of bullcrap lying. And good for the people who are standing up saying, no, that's it. This is a lie. This is not safe. This is not going to be good. And hallelujah.
Let's move on. We only got about 6 minutes before we got to hop out here for break. And Joey, the Goat Man Giggles, we're going to start with you on this one. And that is dead people voting. I got this from your page today. We are seeing record number of dead people, including World War veterans who have passed on, who fought for this country in the U.S., who are now being made eligible voters from the graves. We have the zombie apocalypse taking over the clown apocalypse so they can vote, apparently, Democrat.
Yeah, yes, all Democrat, actually. There are some Republicans that actually died that vote Democrat, too, by the way. So what's going on, basically, is a lot of corruption in the United States. And unfortunately, we're dealing with, a corrupt government, a corrupt mainstream media. And, it is what it is. But the voting, we really need to vet the voting lists in each state. See, that's the problem, is we don't vet that list. So, of course, there's going to be dead people on that list. People died a couple of days before the election, right? And their name is on the list. So, of course, their name is going to be there. So, maybe I'll go and vote as this person. And they'll actually do that. But all of them are voting Democrat, okay? So that is basically telling me the election is rigged, obviously a lot of you don't want to hear that because you don't agree with that. But I feel the election is rigged. And we really need to start thinking about changing our ways, vetting things like these lists to make sure that dead people are not on the list, illegal aliens are not on the list. Well, why are illegal aliens voting? So when it comes down to it, it's not fair to the other candidates. And that's just what I have to say about that. I cannot believe, this whole NWO idea, is really in the heads of our government right now, because everybody wants this globalism, and it seems like everybody's jumping on board with globalism, but when it comes down to it, watch out for Brexit. See you later.
Amber, what do you think? Do you think that this type of voter fraud is not being covered enough right now, especially after it's been exposed?
Oh, definitely. Well, just in media, myself, I was even, my articles were edited and information was taken out of my articles before they would be published. So we have this system where we can only speak so much truth, and then it becomes a serious annoyance to the people who are in power. And I have been pursued quite extensively by some people who I've written about in my articles when I was a reporter, threatening to sue me for years, and actually one of them kind of doing that. The case is actually closed in the state of New Mexico, but there are things that reporters go through that you don't see every day. And so you either become part of the establishment or you are in some way weeded out of the general media. And we're just going to, like I was just writing on Spreaker, the chat room, is that every time I look into the future of American government, I actually do not see our government set up the way that it is now. I see us moving away from this, quote, democracy, and I see our country divided into different sections with 3 rulers. Actually, that's what I see every single time I look into our future. So I don't know how long that's going to take, and some people may say that that's not even true, but all of this is working together for the good, just like it always does. And the good may be the downfall of our civilization as we know it, so that we can rebuild on a new foundation and rise from the ashes. And that's what I would say about it.
We only got a couple seconds left. I want to continue this question before or after we come back from break, because it is a very important topic, and leading into the election, I'm going to get into a little bit of WikiLeaks with you guys right after this. You're listening to the SOR Roundtable. We do it the final Friday of every month. My panel tonight from Spaced Out Weekend, Elizabeth Anglin and James Tyson. We have Amber Avalona from Spaced Out Radio's up-and-coming new feature on our website, Ask Amber. It is a paranormal column. Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Rich Giordano from The Rich Giordano Show. And Joey effin' Giggles from the WIRN Network. We'll be right back right after this.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4 Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you checked out the SOR Spacewire at spacedoutradio.com yet? Every day we post the latest stories regarding the weird, strange, and completely unbelievable. From cryptid and UFO sightings to the conspiracy world, we tackle it all. Hi there, I'm Eric Markham, Spaced Out Radio's news director for the SOR Spacewire. And if you have a story, I want to hear it. Email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to the final hour of Space Out Radio's SOR Paranormal Round Table. We do it the last Friday of the month. We are going to make our draw here momentarily for the Space Traveler of the Month. But before we do that, we do want to remind you that if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, it is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Do us a favor and visit freedomslips.com to donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the SOR Space Traveler's password for tonight. Sycophant. Sycophant is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, as it's becoming more and more popular every day. Uncle Jimbo, James Tyson, and Elizabeth Anglin are in for Spaced Out Weekend tomorrow and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, right here at spacedoutradio.com. Remember, you want to listen 7 days a week. You want that program that's 7 days a week. Let us be your program. And do us a favor. If you're a fan of this show, tell a friend. Because that's the only way we're going to grow this audience, is if you, our valued listeners, give us a hand on that part. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like. Spaced Out Radio Show on Instagram. I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Who's playing the harmonica? That's pretty
Elizabeth.
Awesome. That sounds like either... I bet you that's Giordano.
No. It's not me.
Is that Cooper?
Joey. No.
I don't play the harmonica. Come on.
Who's got the... Anyways, hell with it. Let's get to the show. Guys, we're going to do the draw right now for the SOR... Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Throw another book in there. I'm putting up Mojave Incident by Ron Felber. It's a true story about the Hess family who got abducted out of the Mojave Desert. So add your book, or add your piece of swag. I'll add my book.
Well, why don't you add that book? And I'm going to ask Elizabeth right off the bat here. Would you throw in a reading for the winner this month?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll do that.
So the winner is going to get a book from Ron Felber, The Mojave Incident, and a free psychic reading from our resident psychic, Elizabeth Anglin. And this month's winner in the SOR Space Travelers is, drumroll, Matthew Smith. Matthew Smith is the winner. Good job,
Awesome.
Matthew. Way to go, Matthew. Good job. Good job, Matthew Smith. That's a good set of prizes, and that's why we love doing this show. James, I'm going to message Matthew on social media. I'm going to tag you in it, and then what we will do is we'll get you to send the book down, if you don't mind, to him, because I believe he is in the U.S.
I will. I'm sending one to the Caymans, too.
Nice.
I gave one away on Christina George's show last night.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Congratulations, Matthew Smith.
It was a gift from the SOR Space Travelers group.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So we're going to do it again. The next draw will be on November 25th. Make sure you get your name in for the SOR Space Travelers Club so you can get into this monthly prize draw, because it's our way of saying thank you to our valued listeners for helping us grow, for helping us get bigger, better. Okay, we're at 1,500 listeners. You know, you hear those shows, oh, we're at 10,000 listeners, we're at 15,000 listeners. They're not. And I think everybody out there is smart enough to know they're not. We're honest with you. We're at 1,500 listeners a night on this show, 7 days a week, and we want to grow that. Let's try and hit that 2,000 mark. But we need all of you to help out by telling a friend. Share our posts on Facebook. Share our posts on Twitter. If you're in conversation about the paranormal, you know, over a beer at the bar or something, tell people about Spaced Out Radio. Write our website down on a napkin, hand it to the person and say, hey, this is the show you need to listen to. That's how we're going to get bigger. And we want to end up giving more and more gifts away. So thank you so much. Our fifth winner on the Spaced Out Radio, or is it the fourth? I believe it's the fourth winner, is Matthew Smith. Congratulations. We are going to continue on here, and we got to bring Eric Cooper back in because his phone call dropped. We're going to do that here momentarily.
Aliens.
It definitely aliens. You know, maybe I bet you a beard hair fell out. A beard hair must have fell out, and that's what caused...
No, his cute little daughter took him up by the knees.
Yes, she is cute. She is definitely cute. Absolutely. What happened, Eric? Did you lose a beard hair and accidentally hang up, or what?
I think my beard hit the end button.
That would not surprise me. Would not surprise me. Anyways, thank you so much for being with us on the SOR Roundtable tonight. Remember, if you want to listen to this show or others, you can go to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can tune us in on TuneIn, or you can download this show or any of our shows on iTunes 7 days a week. Right before the break, we were talking, and thank you, whoever's harmonicking, because I love the harmonica. Thank you so much. We were talking about dead people voting. And Rich Giordano, I wanted to get your opinion on this. What would you do if you found out one of your deceased friends or relatives was on the voting list?
Well, I would have to bring a psychic in to tell him to get him off. I don't know. I definitely would. I don't know. If one of my dead friends was on a list, was on the voters list, well, I'd try to figure out how it happened. I don't want to get him in trouble, but we definitely know that we have voter fraud here. It's happened, and in the past with Gore and Bush, that election was totally rigged. And we also know that Hillary, supposedly, there's a WikiLeaks drop. I know you're going to talk about it, but Hillary called for rigging elections. So that's in the emails as well. Trump thinks that it's definitely happening, and that's why he won't give his confirmation, or that he'll agree that the election was not fixed, and he won't accept the decision if Hillary does win until he investigates, because it is happening. With all these things that just came out, all these dead people, all for Democrats, I mean, what other sign would it mean? He says it's happening, she says it's not, but then in another breath she'll say, well, he has, Russia is trying to fix the election for you, so if there's no voter fraud, then why would she even be saying that? So obviously it's happening. Obama says the same thing Hillary says, it's not happening, but Russia's doing it to make Trump win. So this whole election's going to go, I don't know, man. It's just the craziest thing I've ever seen. So, I don't know. If Hillary wins, it's because it was fixed, I believe. If Trump wins, he's going to lose because they're going to make her the president. That's exactly how I feel this is going to go down. So, that's it. It's fixed.
Elizabeth, you get final word on this.
Okay, so I want to go back to the way back, because I literally cringe every time I hear either Trump or Hillary's name. That's how much I love them. But when I have read the JFK conspiracy, what I got, and this was Democrats, and I am a Democrat, but what I got was that, shush, kitty, that Chicago was completely dead people for JFK, and that it was a mob boss who had rigged the election for JFK with his father, who was and his father was supposed to pay him back in a way that never happened, and in fact the opposite happened. And so it really was, who didn't want JFK dead, but who really got on it to start the whole thing rolling was the mob boss in Chicago. He had all the dead people vote, got, the whole assassination going, and it spilled over to everybody else who hated his guts, and, then he was dead. But, dead Democrats voting, when has that not happened? I'm just saying. And I'm a Democrat. So.
Well, let's move over to the WikiLeaks thing here, because there's a couple of angles that we can take on this. CNN earlier this week actually came out and stated, it was last week, came out and stated that it's illegal for any American to read anything that WikiLeaks puts out to the public. And there was a press conference that was delayed that Julian Assange was going to do on his patio of the Ecuador embassy, and that got changed because there were threats to his life that basically they were going to put a sniper in there and shoot him. Okay? Is America, Amber, becoming so, I don't even know the word to look for, so brazen that they would take this out or start telling people what they can and cannot view online?
Wow. You're fortunate living in Canada, by the way. Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, look at what happened with the whole Edward Snowden deal on the NSA, and, you know, how basically I'm at the point now where I realize that probably every single phone call I make, every single email, any private communication is no longer private. And I think everybody should have that opinion and just deal with it the best way that you can. But it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. That's my opinion. And but once the American people are very resilient, and you can only go so far before they really will start fighting back. And I'm not saying that that has to be physically, although we seem to resort to that first. But look at all of the protests with the police officers and the shootings, and how that really started to change the whole system with getting lapel cameras and that type of thing for police officers, so that we had some type of accountability. And we do have a voice, and when we gather together and use it collectively, we can do amazing things. So I see that coming. It's just a matter of what is going to be that final tipping point that causes that to happen. Because the people who are in power, I do feel a sense of being scared and knowing that it's really precarious at this point, whatever they do or don't do. And they will give over to our demands and to our rights if we push hard enough and speak up loud enough. So that's definitely my contribution to the conversation.
Goatman, what do you think on this?
Oh,
Is Julian Assange to blame? By the way, before we continue on, true story here. Norm came back on the desk. The minute he heard we were talking American politics, he ran back down.
Run away! Here we go, guys. Here we go. My man Julian Assange. I'm telling you, he's the truth, where the mainstream media is the fake. I'm telling you, Clinton News Network. Come on now. We're talking CNN. Of course they're going to say that. Of course they're going to say, well, maybe you shouldn't believe what Julian Assange has to put out. Well, maybe we should actually listen to the truth. And actually the truth is what Julian Assange is putting out. By the way, obviously the FBI actually opened up the case again today. And it's going to be because of Julian Assange, who's actually going to send those very important emails that were actually found out there in Uba Ahmadine's cell phone, to the FBI. And there should be something done about that. But the question was, why shouldn't we listen to Julian Assange? We should listen to Julian Assange, and we should not listen to the mainstream media, including Fox. Because, Fox is getting really bad. And so on and so forth. And when it comes down to it, to me, it's a rigged election. And until we actually clean out those lists, until we, actually do things right in this country and not give false electoral maps and false polls and stuff like that, then maybe we'll actually get somewhere in America. So,
Rich Giordano.
Hey.
This is a heavy question, man.
Can you repeat the question, Dave?
Well, it seems like America is becoming very brazen towards WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. It's like he's on their hit list that they have to try and get rid of him. And yet they're telling people like CNN, and I'll repeat this, CNN came out brazenly and said that it's illegal for American people to read WikiLeaks cables that are published. We have him changing press conferences, saying that, his life is in danger if he steps out on the patio now, that someone's going to take him out. His partner of WikiLeaks was just killed. Like, this is a witch hunt. And America, it reminds me of the Bourne Identity, when they were just taking people out left, right, and center in the public, in the day of light, and it didn't matter. And it seems like this is what we are seeing right now.
Yeah, well, this is the America we live in. And this is what's been our America for years and years and years. I mean, goes beyond Kennedy assassination and anything else that, even the attack on Pearl Harbor. I mean, you can get even, say, 9/11. And by the way, these are just my opinions, but I think it all started with the 9/11, this turn in our country, where we are getting brazen, where we're going to tell people what to do. And if they don't like it, we're going to take you out. And it's scary. And I believe America has there's got to be something that's going on in the background that we just don't know as the public. We just don't know why these elections have to be rigged. What is it the secret societies that are popping up that now they're becoming more brazen than ever? Well, I think, with social media, everybody having a phone, a camera, we're just hearing more about it now than we ever will, because everybody's got a camera. But it is something that has been going on for years. There must be something that's going to happen in the next couple of years that is so drastic that we have to get either Hillary in somehow, or if Trump's going to get in, he's probably going to get shot. I hate to say it, but I just feel like something bad like that's going to happen again. It's like Kennedy assassination. And poor Julian Assange. I mean, you can't tell Americans what they can't read. I mean, we have a right to read whatever we want. If you don't want it on the internet, then do something about it. And that's what they're going to do. They'll probably take him out.
You bring out a very good point. And Donald Trump, for as blustery as he is, I know there's a lot of people who think he's a stupid man, but you don't get to be a billionaire, whether it's crooked or not, by being stupid. Okay? And I am surprised that he would put his neck on the line with the way he has really gone into this election, chanting conspiracy on all fronts, coming out saying the elections are rigged, everything is rigged, and I'm going to change it. Do you think he has a death wish?
I think he really likes America. And I think Trump likes to win. He doesn't like to lose. I think he's being that bold because he really, really wants to make America great again. America's great. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with him saying what he's saying. It's just that the government, quote unquote, doesn't like it because they have their agenda and they wanted to keep it going. Now, if he gets to be the president and gets assassinated, then we have Pence. Pence would be the robot they would want. He'll do whatever they tell him to do. I guarantee it. So, yeah, it's pretty dangerous of him to say what he's saying. But I believe that if he does get elected, he could really change this country like we've never seen. I know he's very vocal and very brazen, but that we knew what we were getting when he came in. We knew who he was. So this isn't a surprise. It's just people like what they know. You want to go with the devil you know, then the devil you don't. But in this case, we need a change, I feel. But he's putting his neck on the line. And if he does get taken out, then that really does put an exclamation point on everything he was saying about the government.
And maybe that's the way he's going to save his own ass by keeping it right in the public. Because basically what he's saying, if everything is rigged, if they take me out, America is a communist state hiding behind freedom.
Scary time, man. Yeah.
It is. Elizabeth Anglin, your opinion on this?
I don't think we're a communist state. I think we've been taken over by the corporations. And, Clintons were Democrats, but Clinton signed corporate personhood. Bill Clinton, he did corporate personhood, which is the most ridiculous law that ever ever existed. And I think Hillary's in the pocket of the corporations, and it's a matter of whose corporation wants what. Are you Koch brothers? Are you Monsanto? Are you something, pharmacy? What are you? And which side of the two polar opposite, exactly the same sides, is your man? I think I'm so upset. I don't even want to talk about Trump because of the things he says about women, and I happen to be female, so I have girly parts. But I'm so upset with Hillary when you talk about brazen, because I think that she totally has brazen in terms of what happened with the Democratic National Convention and what happened with Bernie in it. And sorry, Joey, what's the thing under the chin where you put your fingers under the chin and you take your hand out and it's like you're saying F you? She's been saying F you to all the Democrats because she did steal and rig and lie about the election, and I think she should have stepped down. And this is no longer a situation where we have two parties that maybe somewhat resemble the American population. What we have now are people, fascist people, and it is brazen. Fascists are brazen. That's just the way it is. So yeah, I may be moving up there to British Columbia soon.
No. It's not finished yet.
James, you got a bite on this?
6-8 months ago, I was talking to a very well-known psychic down in the U.S., and I said, what do you think about the election? And she says, I see the White House burning. And then she modified that to, well, it's not the building itself, but the flags are burning, which is a symbol to her that it's going to be flipped on its lid, completely upside down. Whatever is going to happen as a result of this election is going to be unprecedented. And I was talking to, again today, Jeannie Bergen, very well-known U.S. psychic, who again says that something's going to happen. Something is going to happen that one of them kind of owes time from another life. And when we say owes time, it's jail time. And this is something coming out. And we kind of discussed back and forth, and I got a gut feeling by March, no matter who is in that office, they're going to be removed. Mm-hmm. And so I've always said, vote for your favorite vice president.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that.
As far as the
go ahead, James.
Voting, my gosh, that is something. That is something internal that you can criticize from the outside, but honestly, that is the system that's in place. And if that can happen, the entire system of the way voting is done is got to be revamped, because that is not a democratic. It removes you from a democratic country.
Absolutely,
you end up being a third world country if you have rigged elections.
Agree.
Amber, I'm going to give you a final word on this, but I'm only going to give you about a minute or two on this because we have a lot of topics left, and we only got about 30 minutes left.
Okay. Sorry. Can you repeat that question really quick? What you wanted me to answer?
Yes. Now you're going to make me find it. In regards to...
We've talked about so much.
We're talking about Julian Assange, okay, and the fact that they're literally saying, CNN was saying a week and a half ago, that literally people are not allowed to read WikiLeaks.
Gotcha. I think I was the first one to answer that question, but excellent. I can just close it up by saying that you can't tell people what they can or they can't read. I mean, that's part of our Constitution is freedom of speech, and that includes the speech that's in writing. And if we get to the point where people are burning books or they're killing people to stop the information from coming forth, somebody else is just going to stand up. That's the way that it's always worked, is these things backfire on the people who are trying to control the populace. And they have to be really, really careful at this point. That's what I'm feeling, is that things are not going to turn out the way that we expect. And overall, I'm looking forward to that.
All right, let's change topics, get to something a little bit more happy-go-lucky here. Last week, I attended the first annual Forest Moon Paracon, where I was blessed with being the final speaker of the night in the VIP room, and I had so much fun. And Eric Cooper from Forest Moon is with us on this. And Eric, I want to get your topic here. One of the things that I brought up during my conversation with your audience was the fact that a lot of investigators now, albeit anything under the paranormal umbrella, tend to really, really want to hear the stories and the experiences of people, but when it comes down to using it for evidence, using it for research, they're basically saying, really, your evidence isn't as important as it used to be. What did you think about that?
I think the experiencer is almost more important than the evidence, because technically the experiencer is going to corroborate the evidence based on the patterns you see with the experiences they talk about. So, yeah, as far as their evidence, you've seen more and more of what they call evidence, which is all the same. And the experiencer is the one that corroborates what they're showing. So the experiencer, to me, is more important.
Who's typing?
Not me.
I bet you it's Amber.
It was me. Sorry, guys. I thought I had my mic off.
We had to blame you. Amber, Amber, while you're talking, what do you think? Do you think that the experience is still important in research?
Yeah, I really liked his answer. I definitely think it is, because, without the experiencer, we don't have any type of context. And so all we have are these pictures or videos, and it doesn't make any sense after a while. So we really need that experience and that experiencer to place a story around it so we can start to learn from these cases and start to gather data and make connections and educate ourselves. I just was actually watching a documentary today on UFO sightings, and it was so boring that I turned it off, because all they showed were just videos of these things flying in the sky, and that was it. And after about 35 minutes, I thought, well, okay, what else is there? How is this important to me? And are you going to give me any type of information that makes this worthwhile for me to watch? And I didn't get that. So that's what I think the experiencer does, is it makes our research and it makes our investigations worthwhile.
Rich Giordano, in the field of ufology, we seem to have a lot of video evidence. We seem to have people having sightings on a daily basis. But if you look at any of the big-name researchers out there, whether it's Stanton Friedman, whether it's Whitley Strieber, whether it's Linda Moulton Howe, whether it's Mike Barra, whether it's Bruce McCabe, okay, they are pushing disclosure so heavily now and wanting to know what the government knows, even though they feel for people who are having the experience, whether it's a close encounter sighting or whether it's an abduction or a meeting with extraterrestrials. Those stories no longer seem to matter. The excuse with that is that personal sightings are not 100% credible, and therefore can no longer be logged or used as evidence. You've been doing this 10 plus years now. Do you think that's the right way or the wrong way? Have we advanced to the point where we don't need it, or are we forgetting to take a step back here and listen to the people?
Well, sadly, the internet has watered down all the stories with terrible videos, and nobody believes anybody anymore. So the only credible story that would be able to make people say, wow, would be a mass sighting with, maybe 1 or 2 videos, just like the Phoenix Lights in 97. When we had the mass sighting here, it got worldwide attention because thousands of people saw it. It wasn't just like me. It wasn't just me reporting it and saying, here's my shaky video of some lights in the sky. Well, who knows if I faked it? So when you have a mass sighting and the stories that people tell, and they're all similar, and they all described the same ship, and they all had the same feeling, that has so much more power to it than just one story at a time. Those stories are great, I think, and I like hearing them, but sometimes I sit there and say, that's so unbelievable, but my God, how are you going to prove it? So that's the fight. That's it. And we've been so watered down with so many bad stories and videos that we just need to have more than one, maybe over 100 people at one time now to, even have a good story. So it's tough. That's the fight we're having in ufology. It's just one person at a time ain't cutting it anymore. It used to be good, but now there's too many fakes.
Fully agree with you on the fakes that are out there. And, I understand that, but you can tell, Elizabeth, when someone is telling you the truth or whether they are just BSing a story. If it sounds way too made up, it's easy to tell in this field because people do want their 15 minutes of fame, whether it's a video, whether it's their own personal story. But a true experiencer, you know what they're going through. You can feel it off them. You can hear it in their words. Elizabeth, do you think that we are not taking this message from the experiencers as serious as we should be anymore?
Well, this was the fight that we were fighting through the Program for Extraordinary Experience Research with John Mack and the original experiencers and support group. After we got shot down at the Harvard inquiry and through the media and just got attacked from PsyCop. I mean, I have files from what happened there, and I mean, the next book that I'm coming out with is so interesting because just the human play off of let's just diss experiencers to no end and diss anybody who believes them and trash them and drag them through the mud and take away their entire lifetime of good research and good work. And your name is going to be mud if you say you're an experiencer or you say you're somebody who believes them. And this is in 1994, 1995. By 1996, we were trying to figure out a way that we could steal a spaceship and have it land, like right now at this time of year, in the middle of the World Series. And then go take it someplace to be analyzed, because for proof what you need to have is a whole working spaceship, and then in order not to get shot what you need to do is have a ton of people see you with a spaceship, so you have to have like multimedia outlet, many people, and that physical piece of proof. Nobody's going to believe the video, nobody's going to believe the experiencer. And we've known, that's been something I've known since, the mid-90s, that proof is a working ship, hopefully with an alien in it. If it's alive, that's great. And how do you get to not be in a base in the Black Ops? Well, you've got to go land at the World Series. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Joey Giggles, does the experience continue, or is it irrelevant information?
You know what I'm going to say. The experience is everything. I feel, yes, you could do your own self-research, but the experiencer knows best. I mean, obviously, they've seen it. They've been there. They have credible stories, because obviously credible to them since they actually saw the actual event. Of course, they're going to tell it in vivid detail. So I feel that the experiencer is the most important part and most important piece in actually finding the best research. So there you go.
Can I add something to that, Dave?
Please do.
The thing about having individuals coming out is that I had an experience where I saw something, got it on video, and never seen it since. But it's like a puzzle. when somebody else says something, even if it's 10 years later, and they're describing you saw something 10 years ago, you're like, holy crap, I saw the same thing that guy did. And now we have another piece to the puzzle. So we're trying to put these pieces together and figure this stuff out. So the more pieces, the more people we get, the more stories. That's how we can make this thing really viable push towards disclosure, is getting the pieces of the puzzle together and see if they all match up.
And you got to understand, too, with the experiencer, a lot of them have physical evidence. They've got the bruising. In abduction cases, they've got the bruising, they've got the nosebleeds, the missing time, the scoop marks. They've got the evidence. Having that evidence along with their story that matches the evidence, you've got the evidence right there, hands down.
Yep.
Yeah,
Amber.
but what will society accept? That's the thing.
True.
Yeah.
Amber, we're going to shift gears on this because I want to try and get many more topics on, but we're going to stay kind of with the whole experiencer side. Is there enough journalism, Amber, in alternative and paranormal media? And the reason why I asked that is part of my speech at the Paracon last week was about not only the experiencer, but it was about the media as well, on how the public really doesn't have a voice anymore and doesn't have a representation anymore because the mainstream is showing that they are crooked. The alternative is now hopping on this whole fear-mongering background and the bandwagon of it. Where's the voice for the public anymore?
Wow. That's that could be a show in itself, right, Dave? It's one of those things that is, at this point, kind of a mystery. I don't know why we're not covering it more, because it should be covered. And it should be covered using the, APA, the journalistic concepts, and where you have a professional reporter who goes out, who does research, who talks to people, and who gives the story from a dispassionate point of view. And I think that the public is ready for that. I don't think that the magazines and the newspapers and those who are in charge of them are. Because as we were discussing earlier, a lot of these are being bought up by mass corporations and billionaires. And I think that they have their self-interest to protect. So they will not allow their reporters to go into the paranormal or the metaphysical realm, because then it starts to touch on things that they're doing behind the scenes. And that's a big no-no in the field. As soon as you start doing that, you're blacklisted and you are hunted. That's just the reality of it. Whether it's in a spiritual sense or a physical sense, you do put your life in danger. And I think we'll see more of it start to happen, but it takes people like some of these whistleblowers who are willing to give up absolutely everything to get the truth out there. And that's a difficult choice to make.
James Tyson, I'm curious in your opinion, do you think we are taking the time as people behind the microphone or people behind the camera or in front of the camera or people writing blogs or for paranormal magazines, do you think we are doing this industry any type of journalistic integrity?
I think it's baby steps, and I live with an award-winning journalist, so to have somebody peering over my shoulder all the time when I'm thinking of putting a show together or writing something, it's kind of irritating, but got to kind of defer to the boss in those cases. I think this is baby steps. I think we're at the front end of it. We have people out there denying what they've seen with their own eyes. You can, like I said, I think I said this at the conference, how many pictures of a ghost do you need to prove it's a ghost? All you need is one, You just need everybody to believe that you didn't fake it. So it's almost like Holocaust deniers. You have all this evidence you put down, and they look at you saying, never happened. Well, yeah, it did. Well, you can't grab them by the neck and shake their head, but enough people are having their own experiences, and that is going to increase because it is, and on my belief system, I believe it's supposed to increase until enough people are kind of enlightened to that side. And those who aren't enlightened, they're going to be standing on the side of the road when the bus picks the rest of us up and carries on. It's the culling of the herd, which is coming who knows when. But I think we are only doing what we can do, given the opportunities and the medium that we have. This is the front end of what we're supposed to be doing.
Rich, I'm curious your opinion on this because you're one of the founders of UFO Radio. You were one of the first ones to ever do this going back 6, 8, 10 years ago. Now, as you have seen a plethora of radio shows hit the air, podcasts, whatever they want to call it, these so-called networks that are out there, which are glorified radio networks. Okay, I'm curious, do you see any type of integrity out there when it comes to the programming, or do you see people just hopping in front of a microphone just so they could voice their opinion on air?
Well, the good thing is, you're right, 11 years ago when I first got started, we were getting so many people listening to the show because there wasn't a lot of live broadcasting. But over the last 10 years, you can get a free account and do a show for 30 minutes every day if you wanted to. The integrity, of course, has dropped way down. People just want to hear themselves talk. But one thing I found out, and it was really a struggle for me because doing it for 6 years in a row, I just found myself talking about the same thing after a couple of years. I'm like, what is there in ufology that I could talk about that people haven't already heard? So, that was the reason behind my let's talk about hoaxers. Let's talk about people doing bad in ufology and becoming the bad boy of ufology. It was something new, something fresh. People liked it. But even that got old. And even I had to change and grow out of that. It's just, I think James said it, with baby steps. We just have to recognize quality and stay with that programming, and hopefully those people will stay around and not get bored either, or get booted out by the government or whoever else has power to shut down that website you're doing your show from or whatever. But it has gotten watered down terribly. There may be a handful of shows out there that are worth listening to. People always talk about the same ones, right? They talk about the Art Bell show, and then they Coast to Coast. They're not talking about me. I get a couple hundred people listening when I do my show. Big deal. You get thousands of people. Even that's a little. We need to get the voice out in one media. We're never going to be mainstream. That's the problem.
Absolutely agree with you on that. Joey, I'm curious. Do you think that it's gone too far with the amount of people giving the message rather than creating a quality message?
Good question. There's a lot of radio shows out there, not like this one, not like mine, and not like the rest of ours that, we do shows on here. But there's just different messages going out to people, and I feel that there's a multitude of different, opinions and ideas going out there, and are they good shows? Some of them are mediocre, some of them are not so, not so good, but honestly, it depends on the individual, it depends on the person, it depends on the person who has the gumption to actually do a show like every day, like me and you, Dave, and the rest of us on here, So when it comes down to it, I feel that there is a lot and it could be dwindled down a little bit, but I mean, obviously it's not going to be dwindled down because people are going to believe that they can do a show, so they're going to do a show regardless, and that's what I feel. I mean, like, there's going to be always a multitude of voices, so there's really nothing you could do about it. It's just that you got to hope that the show is focused, the show has a meaning, and some of them don't have any meaning. They don't have any. Yeah. So.
I agree, and I got to move on here because I got to get a couple more comments in, and I want to get one or two more topics into the show. Coop, you have your own show, S4 with E Squared. I'm curious what you feel about the fact that the alternative and paranormal media seems to be more into fear-mongering and complaining rather than having logical discussion.
I agree. And on our show, I mean, some might call it fear-mongering. We call it, we take on the topics that other shows, from what I've seen, don't completely take on. Like, for example, on Sunday night, we're taking on the scientific aspect of this veil people talk about at Halloween. Having a scientist on my show kind of gives me a different perspective. Would I ever have thought about the science of a veil before? No. Hell no. So, no. There are too many shows out there. Some would call our show mediocre. We're learning. We're growing. We're a new show. But I completely agree. Some out there just think they want to hear themselves talk. Then you got other shows that they're just flat out boring.
Awesome.
So
awesome. I'm sorry. We only got about 7 minutes left here, and I want to get Elizabeth's opinion on this.
Yeah, there are too many shows, and and I think that we do have the challenge. I've been on air on and off again since 2010, so kind of like Richard. Sometimes it's just like, oh, am I doing this again? But I think good journalism, what I like about you, Davis, you are a media person, a journalist, and you do keep SOR interesting, and eventually it's like the diamond that gets uncovered. Mm-hmm. Eventually the thing that is quality will shine forth, and people will be attracted to it, and the word will get out. So, and the others will fall by the wayside because it's just too much energy and time unless the person is just really likes to hear themselves talk.
Liz, I'm going to cut you off on that one right there because I want to get one final topic in here. And Amber, we're going to start with you on this one. In the paranormal field, we seem to have a lot of people out there who express fact when really it's just opinion. The Bigfoot community is big on this, where we have all these researchers out there who say Bigfoot is a hominid, it is a Gigantopithecus, it is a part of the Nephilim or the missing link to mankind, yet they have no intention of looking into the First Nations, which they believe, many cultures believe, it's a shapeshifter or an interdimensional species, but because they can't wrap their head around it, and they don't get it, they immediately disassociate themselves from that thought. Do you find in the paranormal we see too many people expressing their opinion as fact?
Yes, David, and I'll try to be short because I definitely want to hear everybody else's opinion on this too. And as we're talking about, this is my opinion. I do. I think that there are a lot of people who can only hold so much maybe in their current state of reality or in their minds. And so they will kind of latch on to one particular topic or idea and run with it. We see that in religion a lot, where you can only talk about something or believe something within a little small box, and that's it. And it can be kind of, scary to go past that, but it's also very amazing and interesting. And so we just need to learn to, especially in the paranormal field, have, number one, an open mind, and number two, an enjoyment of the field and the subjects that we study and investigate. And number three, always be willing to call upon whatever truth source that we believe is out there in the universe to guide our research and to help us along so that we are directed
Absolutely.
in the appropriate direction. Yeah.
James, too much opinion and too little fact, or do you see too many people stating their opinion as fact?
Yes, to both. It's somebody taking the sum of their investigation, whether that investigation was something they did properly, coming in kind of skeptical and balancing up, and then flaunting their belief or their answer as 100% fact without having somebody else's. Usually on an experiment, you'll have somebody else do a peer review on it and go through the same thing to see if they have. And it is frustrating. And some of the things, especially with conspiracies, oh, Lord, people are making money and are writing books and are doing the conspiracy con circuit, having a great time talking about how they believe the government did this or they believe this has happened, without a peer review, and it's a little frustrating. And you and I, Dave, we do this because we're open-minded. We'll let anybody talk. In fact, I think you sent me a link to interview a guy who's the second coming of Christ. I may give that guy a shot.
Yes, absolutely.
What the heck? But there are people who dig right down, and they get darn cranky if you ask them a question that sounds like you're criticizing their work. So yeah, there's a bit of it out there, but the more we all become a little bit more open to things out there, whether we all see a UFO or we're gifted by an experience with a Bigfoot or any other cryptid, baby steps. Mm-hmm. It's all going to come. A lot of us are out there, a lot of people out there just trying to get all the information today.
James, I'm going to cut you off there. Coop, I want to get your opinion on this.
Oh, yeah, definitely too much opinion, not fact. You have to take, you have to take the whole, use a Bigfoot example like you did. You got to take First Nations with research, for example. Now, you can't just take one without the other. Because, First Nations been around long before any of these researchers came out. Their stories hold a lot more weight to me. And having Tyler on the team, he's been looking at both sides of it. So yeah, you've got too many wishy-washy. Their opinions fact, and they get all bent out of shape when you bring up other points. So completely agree.
Rich Giordano, let's get your call. Too much fact instead of opinion?
Well, I maybe I've been too opinionated myself on things, but I've done the research. It's all on an individual basis because this paranormal field, you may do the same test 3 or 4 times and may come up with different results every time. So it's just really hard. People think they got the facts when in fact they really don't. And I think it's way too fact oriented without having the evidence. Yeah, there's not much else I could say that anybody else hasn't said. So pretty much that's it.
Elizabeth, I want your call on this. We got about 30 seconds for you.
Yeah, there's too much opinion that's being presented as fact, and it's hard for people to learn to present their information as experience and say, well, this has been my experience, and so I'm leaving it at that, or this has been what I heard from somebody else. People don't know how to use those words, and they need to learn to use them.
Mm-hmm. Amber, your call. Quickly, or did I already get your opinion on this?
You did, yes, that was the first one. Everybody did great.
Then we round out with the man, the myth, the Staten Island legend, the Gout Man, Joseph F. for Francis Aquilino. 30 seconds for you.
All right, well, really quick, I feel there's a lot of opinion rather than fact, and it's based on the lack of self knowledge or self learning. So I think if people self-learn a little bit more, I think we'll have more fact than opinion. So.
Awesome. Rich Giordano, Amber Avalona, Eric Cooper, Elizabeth Anglin, Joey Giggles, James Tyson, thank you for being on this month's Paranormal Roundtable on Spaced Out Radio. And thank you, Matthew Smith, for winning the SOR Space Travelers Club membership prize this month. Good to have you along for the ride. I am out. I'm going into the wilderness as I try and find my Zen and Chi. Don't forget this weekend, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, we have Spaced Out Weekend, hour number 1 with Elizabeth Anglin's Cosmic Passport, and Spaced Out Weekend with James Tyson, rounding out the show, the final 2 hours. Everyone, thank you so much for being with us. Remember, you can listen to this show and others by going to our YouTube channel, subscribe to it. You can listen to our archives there. You can listen to our archives on TuneIn as well. If you use an iPhone or have an iTunes account, download Spaced Out Radio today. Do us a favor, people. We want to make this happen. We want to make this grow bigger and better every show. We need your help. Tell a friend, maybe 2. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I'll be back on Halloween night with Karen Dahlman doing a live Ouija board show. I hope you tune in with us. Appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for all of your support this week. And we will continue it in just 21 hours from now with Spaced Out Weekend. Have a good one, everyone.